And it's where all people of all walks of life, of course, are increasingly interconnected. And sitting in Asia, it's very similar to the Asian concept of oneness. We think a lot about, in Asia, about the universe, the origins of the universe, how we're all connected, the mystery of it. And so this comes back again and again in my work in sitting in Asia. But anyway, it's the portal, and each passage represents a different state in the transformation of our understanding of our technology. That's what this means. So, and it's similar to the picture I showed you at the start. This is from Tiwanaku, Brazil, and Bolivia, near La Paz in Bolivia. And it's where ancient Incans marked the yearly passage of the sun on the winter solstice. So the reference of that my installation was this. Okay, and so this is how it looks inside. Look at all the electronics and the crushed glass. And this, because I had mirrors on either end, it became an infinity. The one is infinity here with the reflection of the, and it changes colors based on the twitter once a minute. Actually, the amount of time that it goes through the different stages depends on elements of the algorithm. But basically, you go through all the moods within. So the minute is divided up proportionally according to what is the greater mood, if you will, of the planet at the time that it's being looked at every 1 minute. So it's the whole planet. Okay, I'm not going to play that. I composed the music, but we didn't hook up the sound. That's just as well. So let's see. So then I went to New York City and did the Mood of New York, but that weighed 500 kilos, so I couldn't take it. It was really big, really heavy. So we made something really much smaller. And what amazed me, it was the same concept, but much smaller. And we used fabric over the LEDs instead of glass. Crushed glass made it a lot lighter. But it also made it more tactile, and people felt, it welcomed people. When you work with tactile media, of course, people are familiar with, you open it up to communities who maybe, felt excluded. So I've been working quite a lot with that over the years. But I thought no one would get it. It's kind of the mood channel, So, but people stood there and watched it for hours. They were really interested, including in the abstraction and the color, which surprised me. But anyway, that was a big surprise to me, that people really felt that including they didn't want to see bar charts. They didn't want to hear a voiceover narrative explaining it. They were just happy, they understood what it was, and they enjoyed the abstraction of it. So then in Singapore, the same thing. We were asked to make another one to put in the experimental medicine building. And this time we worked with Professor Eric Cambria, School of he's a computer scientist in the College of Engineering. And we started doing much more work with sentiment analysis and talking about that. But really what it's about is, you can ask, well, what is public art today? With social media and with big data. And not just about their personal lives, but responding to news and events around the planet, including global warming. So that's one of the things that my work is increasingly working with. And I think I have do I have some animation to show you here? I don't see it coming up. Okay, well, there was some animation there, but I will skip it if it will let me. Okay, yeah, it was taking too long to load, I'm sorry. So again, with more precise AI and some semantic and sentiment analysis of tweets, and different kinds of visualizations for different kinds of concepts, many more emotions, and then trying to also work in tandem with other kinds of expression to understand mood of the viewer and also of the audience that's distributed around the world. So, okay, for the Singaporeans, and there's Naga, he's there, but you already know that, and that's Eric. Okay, and he has something called Centric Net is Eric Cambria. So then, speaking of heritage and bringing it together with heritage, when you sit in Asia, and I think probably in Europe too, well, especially there, people do not think there's a conflict between high art and traditional handcraft and so on. So when we started working with, so heritage is a very important part of contemporary art. So we're working with, as Elke and Ben were talking about earlier, with the Chinese Heritage Center. And there was a projection mapping event last spring, and I made a piece based on Chinese music and the Peranakan colors. But anyway, and it's a collective project. You know, it's a team, and I'm very grateful to be able to have a team of people to work with. Okay, that's also very important, sitting in Asia, that we recognize the contributions of all the different religions and ethnic groups. Singapore has a policy of religious harmony, and that's very important for us, too, in our school. I'm working now on something in Bali with the UNESCO World Heritage Project with Professor Stephen Lansing, who's an anthropologist, and Professor Madi Bandam, who's an ethnomusicologist, on the gamelan music and the cosmology. And the idea is that the gods exist in the letters of poetry and in the paintings. They're very playful, and they can enter into anything. And so I'm working with them to create something that could be considered a kind of digital offering. It's in progress. I'll tell you more about it when it's done. But that's one of the current collaborations, and I'm really honored to be able to go into this this cultural environment. Went to record the music, and 100 musicians showed up. And it was, I mean, someday I'll give a talk about that. I was just amazed. So it's an adventure that maybe next time I'll tell you more about. So now this is a piece from last year called Digital Amulet Smart Necklace. And it was part of the International Symposium on Wearable Computing in the Design Exhibition. And it uses, well, first it's based on a collar that's a traditional garment that people through history have worn, women have worn in particular, not only women, but mostly women. And in this case, there are smart watches that have sensors in them and networking and can respond to external events and work as a communication device, but also with biofeedback and detecting heartbeat. And so it has different modes, but it also is meant to be an ornamental. And the ornament is a little bit more than just being pretty. It changes its color and timing in response to, it can be set up to be responsive to, in a biofeedback setting, to the mood, to either assist the person to relax or to reflect them. So this is also in development. Now, when we made the one we showed, we added a fourth device that was working more with heartbeat of the user. I'm not going to talk a lot about that. You can anymore because I'll run out of time. Oh, I know, I didn't tell you. It's all 3D printed. So that was also part of my point, is that I'm trying to bring people back to the physical world, not just stay in the virtual world. So it's incredible now that our media can actually bring us back in this way. We also, in our youth school, we have even a bioprinter. So this is one step along the way of trying to navigate a truly a new model for how to work between culture, technology, and nature in a respectful way. This is a tiny, tiny, tiny little step in that way, but that's part of the trajectory. Okay, so I've been working on this project called Turbulent Worlds as well, because of my interest in temporality and the movement of things. Basically it comes up from my interest in working with carbon dioxide and oxygen sensors with the plants and understanding the turbulence of natural systems. And it's not just simulating it, but taking that as data and then bringing it into another kind of experience that dialogues with the virtual reality that we're talking about. Yes, another world. What is it? It's objective and subjective, and it's an inner world and outer world. It's a collective and individual. A lot of people have already talked about that today, so I won't go into it. But as it turns out, in my case, there was the narrative of my life went into it. I had a disappointing personal experience in my life, so it became very about inner turbulence as well as external turbulence and finding connections between those two things. I decided to print on fabric. You saw it outside, because in Asia there are great textile traditions, and I'm in constant dialogue with people about this. And I'm bringing that into the work. Also, the tactile, is missing in a lot of virtual work. So I want to bring that back. I want to honor the body, honor the people who are connecting from that world that are still excluded. So there are all these different things that motivated working with fabric.